Hi, everybody. It's GW. I'm really happy to see you all here, or have you see me here. I look forward to this and taking a little bit of time as I out of your day, out of my day, as we just have this little discussion. It's kind of a one-way discussion on this because I haven't received many comments back. So I'm assuming that everybody who listens to this must agree with me. So anyway, here goes. This is going to be a very political one. The things that have gone on over the last week, 10 days, just pretty scary. Now, today is the day when the helicopter and the regional jet crashed into one another. Actually, the day after. They crashed in about 9 o'clock last night. And so there's a lot of fallout of that. But I just kind of want to run over what my thoughts have been over the last week of just where we are as a country and just what is going on, what's not going on. And I'm sure that there's not a lot of people out here that are going to agree with everything that I say, but bear with me. Again, I'm GW. This is this is just an old guy with a train of consciousness going out here. So let me give you my opinion. My opinion is that in the national election that we just had, is that the American people voted against democracy. Now, not a resounding mandate, that President Trump tries to make it sound like. I mean, it was close. It was a close election. Not that close in the electoral college, but in the popular vote, it was pretty close. And but voting for an oligarchy might be a nice way of saying what it is that the people seem to have voted for. And so, what has gone on, in my opinion, in the last 10 days is that every day you see President Trump trying to consolidate as much power as he possibly can with him and not caring what anybody else or any other agency or any other anything says. It is consolidating power with him. That's not healthy. So you have this consolidation and you have all of these cabinet nominations that he made. And now you've had a week worth of the interviews that the Senate has with them as they bring them in front of them and ask them actually some pretty hard questions. But they shouldn't be that hard of questions if they were really truly qualified to do the job that they were brought in to do. So you have the guy who's now the Secretary of Defense. I have a little experience, not at being the Secretary of Defense, but in that department. That's where I spent a good part of my life. And the guy who's now in charge of that has never led an organization bigger than about 15, 20 people. He was a platoon leader in the Army. I'm sorry. That being a Fox News correspondent and being a low level leader in the Army does not equate to I'm going to be a real effective Secretary of Defense. Now, I heard the argument brought out and said, well, when Biden came into office and he brought Buttigieg in, does being the mayor of Muncie, Indiana, really make you qualified to be the Secretary of Transportation? And I would tell you that yes, it does. It makes you qualified. The fact that you had to lead a multi-pronged organization and you had to do that in a way that it was for the greater good didn't happen there. So you also have repeated comments of nominations who are going to want to strip the DOJ and strip FEMA and even stop FEMA, to say that Okay, if you're going to need any type of national relief, you're going to have to come and ask the president, not an organization. Ask the president himself. And then he'll start trading. And he's already publicly sat there and said, we'll give California with the wildfires, we'll give them all the help they need on the condition. That should not be conditional. That should never be conditional. Even have a Secret Service guy who has been a member of the Secret Service, and he's going to bring him in, and he's going to be the lead element of the Secret Service. Now, he's jumping 2 or 3 levels in the organization. He's jumping roles that a person who's going to lead the service really should hold so that he understands and knows how to use the system to the best advantage. So what may happen is the people who are in those roles today who have been jumped over and have said, well, I guess my career has stalled at this point. Well, they may resign. And oh, by the way, they're federal employees. And because they're federal employees, they just got an offer for a buyout. So how many of them are going to accept that buyout? And look at that buyout that they did, federal workers all over the country. If you're a federal worker, getting a 6 or 8 month buyout severance package, basically being told that you don't have to do anything. You don't have to, you can go on vacation for 6 months and we'll continue to send you your paycheck. All you have to do is say the word resign in a response to this. Well, that's good, I guess, except what happens if an entire office resigns? Some group of people who sit there and go, okay, locked up the office on Friday, hit the word resign, and never showed back up. People don't know how to get into their computers. They don't know how to get into the safes. They don't know how to get into anything. They're completely gone. What about if you have forest rangers out there, that you have half of Yellowstone National Park, maybe half of their people go, wow, this has been too hard. I'm out of here. What happens then? Doing this federal government resignation, the way that they're doing, just crazy, absolutely crazy. Now, what it also shows is, in my mind, is that the actions that President Trump has taken on a personal level appears to be very vindictive. And it appears to be a lot of personal wealth enhancement activities that are going on. Now, I think that every president has probably had people that he thought, I think that I need to help them make up their mind one way or the other, and they could probably be called vindictive or anything else from time to time. But this is just a ridiculous thing to do. So when you just wondering on the national level, the immigration activities, no one says we should keep criminals in this country, and saying that, I think we need to have a little letter of the law, spirit of the law idea here. If you're a cartel member and you're over here trying to, build the cartel up here in the United States, well, maybe it would be a good idea for you to leave. No questions there. If you have come into the United States and you have created any type of civil disturbance here in the United States, well, maybe you aren't needed here. But if you're just over here and you're just doing your best to make a living, and you're working hard and you're doing it within the boundaries that are provided, do we really need to kick everybody out, just roll them up at night? I mean, who does that remind you of? And Germany in the 30s come to mind. It's just not a good look. And sending them home And then if we get any pushback, and I say we, if Trump gets any pushback, he threatens tariffs on everybody that's going on there. But yet he makes these big threats. But you notice that there's a lot of those threats. If he gets pushback, he backs off. I don't know what that is about, but I think that I have learned enough that if I ever get threatened, I'm going to push back, and I'm going to push back as hard as I can because that seems to work. Well, that's not a good way to have a international political scheme that is going to be good for the politics of the world. So, what are we talking here? I mean, I just don't know. I just really don't know. I listened to one of the pundits. Not hard to figure out who, but I listened to one of the pundits, and they went on about the vice president, and they went on with a whole lot of different things about the vice president. And in all honesty, I watched the debate that went on between Waltz and Vance, and I was, in all honesty, I was a little bit impressed with J.D. Vance in that debate. I thought he sounded reasoned. I thought he sounded like he was trying to play within the system. He wasn't trying to defeat everything. But that's this particular one. They started talking. His background is well known. He's been backed by billionaire that started PayPal, a guy by the name of Thiel, and he has gone through several jobs that this particular individual has helped him get, and has spent a lot of money, to make sure that he is as well represented as he can be. And people have been buying offices, doing that for as long as we've had the United States, I'm sure. So he can't really do that. But he went on to a podcast a few years ago, and he was asked, what is supporting him, what got him started, why is he thinking this, and he mentioned a guy by the name of Curtis Yark, I believe it was, but he mentioned this guy, and if you look him up, you have an extremely conservative guy, and when you look at Plan 2025, which was a big deal during the election, that they said, oh, they wrote up this plan, and it's how they're going to run the first year or two, run the first year of the office if Trump gets elected, and he got elected. And I've never read the plan, but what I've heard is that what they're doing right now is very much along the lines of that plan that they had, that everyone said, oh no, that was just a pretend thing. So anyway, this guy Yark, he is seen in this podcast talking about the fact that what America needs, and this is a year ago, what America needs is not a president; it needs a CEO, and the CEO would then run the country like a company. He says, but a CEO is a dictator, and he then went on and said, you need to the United States needs to get over its irrational fear of a dictator. He said a dictator can be a good thing. That's crazy talk as you do that. So one of the things that he came up with was an acronym that he said was RAGE is what you have to do. You have to retire all government employees. RAGE, retire all government employees. Well, what's happened in the last week? The government employees right now have about 6 more days to figure out whether or not they want to retire at the end of this fiscal year, on September 30th of 2025, or not. And the or not is pretty scary because everybody that is being nominated for cabinet positions are pretty well saying that they are going to go in and they are going to, run the organization in a way that befits the Constitution and the policies of the administration. And the policies of the administration are pretty radical in nature. So this could end up being just a really, really bad thing for the United States and for what I think of when I think of the United States and what I think of what I was hoping that my child would be able to inherit. And I'm pretty certain right now that if we don't stop this, that we have real problems. We need to stop this. We need to, at every juncture, we need to jump in and we need to make sure that we don't elect officials that are just yes men over here and sycophants, on the Trump plan. And we don't elect things and we don't pass laws that are going to do this. We have to constantly be vigilant of actions that are being taken so that we can get in the way of them and to be able to hopefully survive until the next midterms. The next midterms come up in 2 years, less than 2 years now. And if we don't have a remarkable change in the government and who is in control of the House and who is in control of the Senate, because we're not in control of the Supreme Court, and not that anybody should be in control of the Supreme Court other than the Supremes, but they are very conservative right now, and we need to get a majority in the House and the Senate, and not just at the national level. We need to do that at every level. We need to get control of the elected bodies so that we can control what is going on and what is not going on. I don't know how I'm going to close this today. This has been a really rough 10 days. And we have so many more to go. But those are my thoughts at this precise moment. There's groups being formed. There's groups that are already formed out there that, we should take a look at and see what we can do because we need to act. We need to work together to make sure that this does not reflect what this country is going to be like in the future. Thanks for listening. It's been a tough 10 days, and hopefully it will get better. I'm not sure that I think that it will, but we'll see.